Are you a photographer that's frustrated with the lack of engagement you're getting from your content on Instagram? Are you not getting the similar number of likes and comments you used to, let's say, a year ago? Well, then this video is for you. Hello, my name is Human. I'm a photographer and I live in Sydney, Australia. Welcome to my channel. This is my very first YouTube video. If you're thinking what you could be expecting from me on this channel, I plan on doing three types of videos for you. One would be opinion-based videos like this, where I talk about, well, my opinions, my personal experience around a specific subject. Two would be videos where I go out and I film my shooting workflow. You'll see where I go, what I shoot, and the end results from that. And number three, probably the most exciting thing for me personally, is that I am planning on catching up with fellow photographers in Sydney initially, and hopefully in Melbourne and throughout the country and the rest of the world at some point, catching up with them, grabbing a coffee or a tea, and going for a shoot and talking about, well, you guessed it, photography. So, welcome again, and let's get on with it. If your experience with Instagram is anything like mine, you've noticed that over the last year or so, the engagement on the photos you're sharing on Instagram has gone down. For example, about a year ago, if I shared a photo on Instagram, I'd get anywhere between 300 to 400 likes and a handful of comments. And if I compare that to the last few months, I may get 50, 60, 70 likes and, well, even less comments. Which means that as a photographer, when you're sharing the work that you love with others, you're not getting the engagement that you really hope for. And that engagement really keeps you motivated. It gives you a bit of inspiration to go out there and work harder to create better photos for the audience that you have out there. And without that, it's a little bit more difficult to stay focused. You feel disencouraged by the lack of engagement. But it's not your fault. It's not necessarily the content you're sharing. It's that the platform you're using has changed quite dramatically over the past few years, especially over the last year. Instagram, as you probably know, is no longer a photo sharing platform. And as part of that, they've changed the strategy around how they share the content you share with everybody else on Instagram. For example, you probably already know this, but any photo that you share may only be seen by up to about 10% of the people who actually follow you, which is really strange, right? The people who've chosen to follow your content, only 10% of them get to see what you're sharing. So you probably already know that a few months ago, Instagram, that's owned by Facebook or Meta, chose a different strategy around how or what they want to focus on as a business. And that is short content video. That is the hot new thing on the market. You've got TikTok that is keeping their audience quite engaged on the platform, and now YouTube's coming in and giving us shorts. And of course, Instagram a few months ago decided to use Reels as a way to keep us, the audience, more engaged and on their platform longer. Again, for you as a photographer, that means if you're sharing photos, there is a lower chance of your audience getting the opportunity to actually see your content. So I learned this a few months ago, and to be fair, I was quite frustrated. And that frustration led to disengagement, and I wasn't really taking Instagram seriously as a platform for me to share my content on. I'd still be posting photos here or there, but wasn't really sharing stories, wasn't sharing videos, nothing that Instagram would consider engaging to the audience. In that time, I really focused on engaging other platforms like Vero or Glass, which I love. Glass is an incredible platform for sharing photos, which I'm planning on making a video for later in the month. But for now, let's get back to this. So a few months back, after, I guess, getting over my frustration with Instagram's strategy around Reels, I decided to consider making Reels. Did a lot of research, watched a lot of YouTube videos to understand what Reels are, what Instagram's strategy is around its algorithm that keeps changing week after week. And I felt like it was time for me to start engaging Instagram. It is a massive platform with a lot of people on there. And there is a really high possibility, if you use it the way they want you to use it, that the content that you create, and I hate to say content that you create, but it is really the photos and the art that you're creating as opposed to content, will get seen by people who may have not seen your work before. And so, with that in mind, with thinking about creating reels, I was afraid. I was also upset because I felt like I was going backwards on my own morals and standards, and I was potentially going to disappoint other fellow photographers by giving in to Instagram. But what it came down to is that my photography is important to me. It's something that I love, and I want it to grow. And the only way to do that on Instagram is, unfortunately or fortunately, is to create reels alongside your photos and really engage with the platform. So about a month ago, without really having a clear plan or strategy around what video content I wanted to create, I decided to start creating video content. Now, the one thing that was quite frustrating after getting over my closed-mindedness around this change was that when I was out taking photos, which is something that I love and I find like meditation. It helps me slow down and really think and focus on one thing in a busy life, which is something that I love. Another reason what I love photography for was now I had to change that mindset. Now I had to really snap out of thinking about making incredible photos, but also thinking about how can I make a short video out of what I'm doing now that could potentially be engaging to my audience or to some new audiences on Instagram. That was probably the biggest frustration. I go out with usually one camera, and that's really it. And I didn't want to carry a gimbal with me. I didn't want to carry a big bag and a microphone. So for now, I started to just make little short videos on my phone while I was taking photos. Sometimes I'd be out on a train heading back home. There'd be a really nice sunset over Sydney Harbour, and I get my phone out and I record that and I share that as a reel. So I started to play around with the kind of videos that people may want to see. I didn't want to be another person who's just creating content for the sake of creating content. I wanted to make sure whatever I was creating that was in one way or another valuable to the audience, whether it was beautiful and they just wanted to watch a pretty sunset over Sydney Harbour, or whether because they were curious around what settings I had on my camera while I was shooting a specific scene. So I started to do that about a month ago, and again, still don't really have a specific genre of videos I want to make for Reels, as I'm still trialing this. But ever since doing that, the engagement with my account has gone up. Instagram is showing my Reels to people who don't follow me. In fact, it's quite mind-blowing that I'd say my Reels are viewed 80-85% by people who don't actually follow me, as opposed to the people who do follow me. So I'd be also planning on making a video and recapping the initial 3 months of doing Reels on Instagram to kind of compare what the engagement with my account looked like initially before making Reels and after 3 months, and see where the engagement is. My gut feeling from this is that I'll have a higher engagement. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that I'm going to have new followers, but we'll find out in another 2 months, roughly. So in short, to recap this, if you're a photographer out there, you are using Instagram, consider making Reels. It is a different creative muscle to flex, to train, but I've actually kind of hate to admit this, I have enjoyed it a little bit. It has been a little bit nerve-wracking and a little bit scary because it's not my thing to make videos. But I have enjoyed this, a little bit scared to think about that. And yeah, thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it useful or semi-interesting. And if you want to see more videos like this, please don't forget to push the subscribe button, and see you in the next one. Thank you.